Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to cut through the noise, sift through sources, and really pull out those essential nuggets of knowledge so you're instantly well-informed.
That's the goal.
Today, we're plunging into a truly wild story. It kicks off with this character we're calling Egg Loser Boy.
Right.
He's an investor who, well, the company he backed doesn't even exist anymore, but he genuinely believes he's on the verge of making millions, like maybe even 20 million or more.
It's certainly a perplexing scenario, isn't it? Our deep dive today is all about this compelling and sometimes, frankly, alarming world of online communities. Communities built around what most people would just call dead stocks.
Dead stocks, yeah.
And these groups, they're fueled by this really unique mix of hope, intense conviction, and, well, sometimes just denial,
Yeah.
all while chasing these huge returns in companies most have totally written off.
Absolutely. So our mission for you today is to unpack the intricate journey of one such community. We want to show you how this powerful mix of belief, a certain kind of leadership, and external forces all came together to create this truly bewildering financial and social phenomenon.
And this is all based on some pretty meticulous investigation, right?
Yeah.
Looking into these communities, lots of interviews, extensive research.
Exactly. Key insights, real narratives. Let's start unpacking.
Okay. So to really get what happened with Bed Bath & Beyond, you first kind of need to remember the GameStop thing, the mania of 2021.
Right. You mean?
That community had this intense loyalty to Ryan Cohen, RC they call him. They saw him as like the only person who could save a dying company. And the core sentiment was basically, you're crazy until you're not. It really set a precedent.
Okay, so that GameStop blueprint is there.
Mm-hmm.
How did people like Egg Loser Boy, and you mentioned Hodgins, and AJ, the MIT neuroscience PhD. That's surprising.
Yeah, quite the background.
How did they react? What was the spark for this specific Bed Bath & Beyond obsession?
Well, the spark really came on March 6, 2022. That's when Ryan Cohen announced he'd bought a 9.8% stake in Bed Bath & Beyond, BBBY.
Okay.
And for many, BBBY, which, let's be clear, was a struggling, heavily shorted retailer, revenues falling, it looked like a perfect setup, a tailor-made opportunity kind of straight from that GameStop playbook.
So they saw the same pattern potentially repeating.
Exactly. And people like Hodgins and AJ, they were so driven by their belief in Cohen, they actually invested their life savings.
Wow, life savings. That's a huge commitment. So Cohen gets involved. What was the immediate impact? Did the stock react?
Oh, definitely. The excitement, this huge influx of new retail investors, it pushed the stock price up dramatically. Shares soared like 90% almost right away.
90%.
Yeah. And naturally, everyone flocked to the subreddit, Rubby. But, despite Cohen's involvement, the company itself, it was still struggling.
Right. The fundamentals hadn't changed overnight.
Not at all. Serious losses, racking up debt, closing stores. So inevitably, the stock price started to plummet again.
So things are looking grim, the stock's falling.
Yeah.
And then you get this moment on August 12th, 2022. CNBC predicts the stock's going to hit $1 a share. That sounds like bad news.
It does. But how the community reacted, and Cohen's role, is key. Ryan Cohen responded to that CNBC prediction with a tweet.
Ah, the cryptic tweets again.
Exactly. He tweeted, "At least her car is full," followed by a smiling moon face emoji.
A moon emoji, okay.
And for many shareholders, despite how, vague it was, they took it as a positive sign, an affirmation that he has our best interests in mind. It just boosted their conviction.
Incredible. So then fast forward just a few days, August 15th, Cohen files paperwork showing he still has his stake. What happened then?
Pure liftoff. The share price absolutely soared. It jumped 135% from where it started the month at like $5. It was up something like 400% overall from the beginning of the month. Just astronomical gains.
Sounds like euphoria. A real moonshot moment, as they'd say. They think he's still with them.
Oh.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, this is where the story takes that really dramatic and honestly devastating turn for so many. Just 2 days after that filing came out.
2 days.
2 days. Cohen sold his entire position in the company right as the share price peaked, walked away with around $60 million.
$60 million.
Yeah. And the news it sent the share price into free fall, down 41%.
Yeah.
We heard so many stories, people putting in life savings near the top, watching it all just evaporate. Some even took out loans.
That's just gut-wrenching. So in the immediate aftermath, surely people started questioning Cohen's motives. Was there talk that this was, deliberate?
Oh, absolutely. Right away, theories started flying. that Cohen used his filing, used those cryptic tweets to deliberately pump a worthless stock and then dump it for a massive profit.
Which led to a lawsuit, right?
Yeah, a lawsuit was filed against him. And even though, professional analysts were calling these interpretations bonkers, the community just clung to it. They kept seeing his tweets, the emojis, as secret communications, hidden messages just for them.
And this is where it gets really fascinating for me, because you'd expect people to cut their losses, right? Jump ship. But so many stayed. What kept them there?
It's truly remarkable. You see this powerful denial of reality kicking in. They stayed. And many actually bought more after Cohen exited.
Not more. Why?
They had this deep conviction he was still involved, just, operating from the shadows. It's a really stark example of confirmation bias, the sunk cost fallacy. People get so dug in, even when the evidence is overwhelming. They had to believe they were still going to get rich.
So if Cohen's officially out, where are they getting their cues now? Where do people like Michael, the med graduate, and egg loser boy hang out and keep this belief going?
Well, for a lot of them, the main hub became the PP Show on YouTube, hosted by a guy known as PP Seeds.
Okay.
It became this crucial space for people like Michael, Egg Lizard Boy, others, just supporting each other, sharing ideas, talking about the stock for hours every single weekday.
Hours every day. Wow.
Yeah, and this environment really fostered these elaborate, often highly speculative theories. They called it due diligence, or DD, basically ways to explain Cohen's actions and justify sticking with it.
Okay, due diligence here sounds different from standard stock analysis. Can you give an example? How far did these theories go?
Well, one big one was the 6th Street theory. The company got a $375 million loan from a firm called 6th Street just 4 business days after Cohen sold his shares.
Okay.
The theory was that this loan somehow signaled Cohen was still involved, just indirectly, through 6th Street.
That's a leap.
It is. And then there was the even grander theory, the Teddy Master Plan.
Petty, like teddy bear.
Exactly. The idea was that Ryan Cohen was secretly planning to acquire Bed Bath & Beyond through 6th Street, maybe after bankruptcy, and relaunch it as a totally new company called Teddy, possibly via a reverse merger.
And this Teddy company would mean?
A massive payout for all the original BBBY investors. Their worthless shares would become valuable Teddy shares. That was the dream.
And it gets even more surreal, doesn't it? I remember reading something about children's books.
You're right. It's maybe the most astonishing part. You had grown men and women gathering on the PP Show, reading Ryan Cohen's children's books together.
Reading children's books for stock tips.
Trying to decipher hidden messages? Seriously. Interpreting things like, oh, look, the socks in this picture are certain colors, that must be a clue. A clue to invest more in BBBY.
It's hard to comprehend.
Yeah. And even some people in the community acknowledged how far out it was. Someone actually said, we're just levels and levels deep in the psychosis at this point.
Self-awareness,
Yeah.
at least for some.
Yeah.
So, despite these elaborate theories, the company itself, Bed Bath & Beyond, it's still tanking.
Right.
Layoffs happening.
Right. Grim reality.
And then something truly tragic happens. September 2nd, 2022. The CFO, Gustavo Arnal, dies by suicide. That must have shaken the community.
You would think so. It was a devastating event, a terrible omen. But somehow, the core community still held on.
It still held on, even after that.
It really makes you ask, where is that line between unwavering belief and just a dangerous break from reality? And what happens when people cross it?
Yeah.
We saw figures like Kai's M emerging. He was known for his very vocal love for Ryan Cohen. His actions became increasingly alarming.
What did he do?
He actually went to Gustavo Arnal's apartment building after his death, asking people if the death was faked.
Oh, my God.
And it didn't stop there. Later, I think it was November 2022, Kaizem actually impersonated Ryan Cohen on the phone.
Impersonated him.
Yeah, called up hospital staff trying to get information about Cohen's pregnant wife's due date.
That crosses so many lines. It really shows the extremity.
Absolutely. And then the inevitable happened. Bed Bath & Beyond filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. April 23, 2023.
The end of the road, surely.
You'd think, but the community, shockingly, interpreted it not as failure, but as all part of the plan. It was just theater.
Bankruptcy was good news.
They genuinely believed it. Many thought, quote, the Chapter 11 was the greatest thing to ever happen to this company. Even AJ, the MIT PhD we mentioned, bought thousands more shares after the bankruptcy filing, at 11 cents each.
Just wow. Okay, this whole journey, it's not just about stocks and theories. There's a dark side, a human cost. People who tried to push back, the critics, They faced real
He
consequences.
really did. We learned about people like Morans who experienced serious doxing just for being critical.
Doxing, so releasing private information.
Exactly. His wife's name, her picture, their home address, all posted online. Even pictures of his kids and their school names. It's disgusting.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. There was this pervasive fear among anyone who dared question the narrative. Fear of being doxxed, harassed. Many people we spoke to only did so anonymously because of that fear.
Truly disturbing. And it makes you ask, in these situations, who's actually benefiting? When you have this incredibly fervent belief, especially tied to risky investments, are there people leveraging that?
That's a really crucial question. And yes, it certainly appears some individuals gained significantly. PP Seeds, the host of the PP show, he monetized his show, took donations, and it's worth noting his history. He was heavily into collapsed cryptocurrencies like SafeMoon and Terra Luna before this, deleted all that content after they crashed.
Convenient. And then there was Bill Pete, this internet celebrity guy.
Right. He got famous, sort of, through Twitter interactions with Ryan Cohen, so the community started seeing him as Cohen's unofficial mouthpiece.
Even though Cohen was gone.
Yeah. And Pete, despite claiming he wasn't even invested in BBBY himself, he used his platform, his influence, to constantly push viewers to donate to PP Seeds. In one live stream alone, they collected over $25,000 in donations.
$25,000. And Pete had his own angle, too, didn't he? Something about his family's company?
He did. He had this ongoing public war with his family's company, Pete Homes. And because he was influential in the BBBY community, they started, pumping out the Pete home buying, supporting his cause.
Right. So you see these figures, leaders, or perceived insiders, potentially benefiting financially from the followers' belief, while those followers are losing everything.
It raises serious ethical questions. And the human impact, the toll on the actual investors, it was just profound.
Beyond the money lost.
Oh, absolutely. People lost life savings, went deep into credit card debt, took out loans they couldn't repay. We saw heartbreaking posts online about marriages ending, people getting divorced over this, and real fear about potential suicides. Actual community members needing financial help fundraisers popping up. Ryan Cohen needed money for his newborn. Kaizem needed funds for his son's college tuition. There was even an emergency fund for basics like groceries and keeping the power on.
Just devastating.
Yeah.
And the self-deception required to keep going.
Intense. You had people with good jobs admitting they were just leaning on my credit card a little heavier, or even pretending to work while they were actually on, Twitter space calls, doing research all day.
So after bankruptcy, after everything, was there any final nail in the coffin?
Yes.
Anything that finally ended it?
Well, there should have been. In September 2023, Bed Bath & Beyond released an official 8K form, a legal filing. It stated clearly that all existing shares would be canceled, released, and extinguished by September 30th, 2023, meaning gone, worthless, zero.
Okay, that sounds definitive. Canceled, extinguished.
You'd think. But remarkably, the community interpreted this filing as more bullish.
More bullish. How?
Their logic, if you can call it that, was the only reason you extinguish them is because you're getting new shares instead. They saw it as signaling the next stage in the emergence of Teddy.
It's an extraordinary refusal to accept reality.
It really is. And then things got even weirder with this in-person gathering, described as a clusterfuck event.
Oh, yeah. What happened?
The attendees were filmed just screaming Ryan Cohen's name hundreds of times. Kaizem got on stage and offered to personally buy a share of Pete Group's stock, Bill Pete's company, for every single person there.
Wow. But the real irony.
The real irony was Bill Plate himself, the supposed insider, the guy they thought was Cohen's mouthpiece. He gets up and tells the crowd that legal is the only way to go at this point.
Contradicting the whole merger fantasy they'd clung to for months.
Completely. It's just quite telling, isn't it? What's so striking is the sheer resilience of that belief, even facing overwhelming tangible proof it's over. Even after the shares were officially canceled, wiped out.
What did they say?
Many investors declared things like, I don't feel defeated. In fact, I feel on the verge of victory. It just shows how incredibly hard it is to give up when you're that deep in, when the belief becomes part of who you are.
Yeah. I think the core lesson here, the takeaway from this deep dive, it's really universal. It's something we all need to remember. Never, ever assume it can't be you.
Right.
Everyone, doesn't matter your background, your education, your intelligence level, you are susceptible to this kind of powerful groupthink, this kind of financial delusion.
It's true. And it leaves us with this one big lingering question, doesn't it? Circling right back to Ryan Cohen. You have thousands of people who poured their life savings into what basically became a religion, with him as the unknowing, maybe unwilling Messiah. Does he owe it to them, especially if the pump and dump theories hold any water, to say something definitive, to just clearly state he's not involved? One way or the other.
That's the question, isn't it? We'll leave you to ponder that the powerful, sometimes really destructive interplay of information, community, and just sheer conviction in our digital age.